Welcome back, everyone. It's great to be here to kick off year 6. So that's a 5 with a big thumbs up. And I love doing it with Kim, with Sean, with Michael, with you, Zach. I'm Shannon Pendleton, and I lead Passive House projects at Sanderson Sustainable Design and materials sourcing at Source 2050. And I'm excited for today's presentation because I want to help you and myself and all of us bring our networks closer. And I'm going to hand it off to Sean. Sean, how you doing? Glad to be
I
back.
am great. I'm so glad to be here with all of you. Talk about collaboration. This is what this is all about. And of course, we've got Mr. Michael Ingui, who's going to kick off a great presentation. So I'm now focusing on the retrofit side of Passive House, where we're trying to fix our existing buildings on the Manager Revive at Etro Construction. And boy, it is great to kick off a new season. And you know what? If we're going to kick off a season, we might as well have Mr. Michael Ingui do it, where he's going to lead and discuss some passion. So let's give a little of who Michael is. His background is he is the president of Ingui Architecture since 2023. Michael believes in creative collaborations and allows his artistic process to inform his designs, blending art and architecture to award-winning spaces and groundbreaking businesses. Michael is a co-founder of BIA Interiors, integrated and forward-thinking interiors firm with Ingui, a leader in high-performance buildings. Michael is also the founder of the Passive House Accelerator and Source 2050, and not only a dear friend and boy, just an inspiration to all of us. And guess what? Here he is to kick off this season of the Passive House Accelerator Live. Michael, over to you, friend.
Thank you so much, and nice to see everybody. I'll hopefully share my screen correctly. Let me know if you guys can see that. And thank you. So I would love to first say thanks. This is wonderful. It's good to see everybody. It's good to start, and it's good to start to present. This is a fun year. It's our 6th year. It's a big deal. And we're kicking this year off with massive impacts. We're going to be, over the course of the fall, announcing a whole bunch of fun, cool collaborations, ways that our community is making impacts, ways that you're making impacts, and just so much of what's happened has been built on a lot of time and a lot of effort from the hosts that are on this show, plus a whole bunch of others. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the Passive House Accelerator team. Um, it's hard to do this. For me, it's super addictive. I'm not doing a lot of work on this. They are. And I mean, you see what's out here, but even the prep calls are fun. So kudos to the Passive House Accelerator team. 6 years is a lot of fun. And where are we going from here? So before I start talking, I want everybody to start to think in their head and put in chat, and then we'll discuss it after chat. This way you pay attention to what I'm saying. But you can also chat with each other. What massive impacts are you seeing out there? What massive impact do you think you're making? What's inspiring you right now? What cool building are you working on? We'll talk about it at the end. Instead of hearing from me and lots of questions for me, maybe we'll throw it back and we'll start talking with you about what's happening. So throw it in chat, do it now. We're all good. So why does this matter? Why are we starting off the program this way at all? What's so big about massive impacts, and what's so important about describing it this way? And I think one of the things is that we really truly we need these changes. It matters. And I think we have to start asking ourselves what happens when we get it right. So first of all, this is a great book. It's one of the books I've read this summer. Um, I love this book. People should get this book. And it starts to ask lots of questions about what happens when we get it right. There's just an awful lot of stuff that we cannot control in our worlds right now. But we can control what's local. We can control what we do. We can control the decisions we make. And we have to start asking ourselves the question of what happens when we get it right. We have to start asking ourselves the questions, what if we're already getting it right? what if we already have a clear plan? And what if we have a clear path forward and we just need to keep making it better? What if we're already making massive impacts? And one of the things that we have to do now that so many more people are coming into the community is make it easier for others. You have to really have a clear sense of where you are. A massive impact, it can mean, a systematic change, a cultural shift, policy initiatives, personal transformations. It can mean so many different things. Massive doesn't have to mean perfect. It just means it has to mean scalable change. And there are definitely people and places making these kind of changes right now. There are entire states making these changes. You've got New York State, which I'm super proud to be in. I'm really excited to have won a NYSERDA Buildings of Excellence uh, award for the round one with one of our projects with Amy and Joey in the office. Um, we've got Local Law 97. There's just a lot going on in New York. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of movement. Then we all know what's going on with Massachusetts. Massive strides at a breakneck speed. A lot of effort being put in. And what this means is it means challenges. You've got a lot of people coming in. They're excited. They want to do this. You've got these agencies making these massive impacts. And we've got a community coming in and we have to support them. We've got to get it right. And a lot of us are getting it right. So, what do we have to do now? We have to share it. We have to share it. We have to make sure that we can do it in a repeatable way. There are really incredible projects happening right now. I mean, I'm only going to bring up four of them right now. Um, and you'll see why in a second. But I mean, these are just four incredible projects. You've got the Edison. It's a mass timber building. It's panelized. It's beautiful. It's in Milwaukee. It's going to be a great project. You've got the Bush School in Seattle. Um, Fantastic team here as well. It's another great looking building. So important to do this with schools. You've got right now it's the largest Passive House certified school in the Western United States. They're doing other cool things like stormwater. That again shows you what we're doing in our world right now. We're doing cool things where we're not just doing Passive House. We're doing things that are going way above and beyond this. You've got the Bunker Hill redevelopment in Boston, another great team, RDH, and the crew is on this one as well. What's fun about this project is it's 15 buildings. I don't know why that thing keeps coming up, by the way, whatever. Um, is what it is. So 15 buildings. They're putting so much effort and time into the beginning of what they're doing and how they're doing it that the projects are getting cheaper and better and faster as they go on. This is how you do development work at this scale. And what's cool about it is they're really, really focusing on how's the first one going? How's the second one going? And very similar to everybody else in this community, they're sharing it. So with the more that happens, the more that people can do this, the more we can share, the more successful we'll be. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something that's really affected me nicely. I have no idea how to stop making that happen, though, by the way. Sorry about that. It's just going to keep happening. So,
Michael, we're not seeing anything. You're good.
oh, really?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
me.
Yep, yeah, you're good.
I love being in my own little world. It's a fun world, but gets a little weird. All right, I'm seeing the Zoom thing come up and down. It's driving me bananas. All right. So with that, Reimagine Tuesdays. So I think everybody's heard about the collective. We'll get into the Reimagine Buildings Collective. And there's so many cool things about the collective. And if you're not a member, you should join. I'm part of a cool cohort that happens on Tuesdays or different days, but it's been happening a few times during the summer. They're like a little mini think tanks. I am on it all the time when I need a suggestion, or I'm dealing with this, or I'm having a hot water issue, or I mean, there's so many things you can do on it. Ed May's doing some sessions on it, but what's really been a massive impact for me, so I want to talk about it, is what's happening on Tuesdays. On Tuesdays, I'm holding sessions on the collective. And if it's the only reason you join, I think it's personally worth it. It's an hour every Tuesday and or a little longer. And it's when we get to spend some time with people who are truly, truly moving the needle. They're making massive impacts and they're sharing everything. And you, as part of the audience, you get to actually interact with them and ask them questions. And people do, like, really specific questions about the projects they're on, their own firms, where they want to go, a firm they might want to join. So, like, what do I mean by this? And there's a few of them, so I'll go pretty quickly. And these are all recorded, so if you join, you get to see them all. But we had Tessa Bradley on. It was is Reimagined Design, talking about Passive House as the path, the soulful design, and more. We had Mike Steffen on, talking about scaling with discipline, the value and clarity of building. If people haven't seen Mike talk, what I like about that is he's doing much larger projects than I do. He's doing large affordable housing projects, and they're finding ways of doing it cost neutral. He's super excited about interesting ways of making these things happen. Different project types, really interesting. Then we had on Reimagine Materials, John Sara and Allison from the Healthy Material Lab. If you don't know about the Healthy Material Lab, you should. What they were talking about are just materials and how they shape the health of our buildings, how we have the ability to choose the tools that are out there, including Healthy Material Lab, and how it can help us. Then we went back into Reimagine Design, and we had Julie Lee and James on, and they're just talking about these incredibly beautiful historic buildings they do and how Passive House coexists with their design. And they're talking about their practice and how they made these things happen. Again, we're talking about how do you make massive impacts. One of the ways this community can do it is not just to show our great projects, which I would love to watch all day long, but it's really to dive into how are you doing it. And that's what these sessions were really about. So much fun. The next one was Owen Clean. We went back into Reimagine Construction, built on what Mike Steffen was talking about. Completely different scale. Owen Clean is from Clean Construction, a contractor I work with a lot. Was really helpful with our systematic approach to achieving Passive House, and has done 6 or 7 passive houses already. First Landmark Passive House, a whole bunch of others. A few of them have sold, which is fun. And he was talking about the repeatable ways of doing a retrofit efficiently so you can keep the costs down. Again, if you're getting into it, these are the questions you've got. Then I think everybody already knows Jacob, but if you don't, you should. He went into the beam tool. He talked about ways of cutting embodied carbon with tools that we already have and how you could do it, and really kind of laid out how you could do it. Getting back into Reimagine Construction, Josh Salinger, beautiful projects. If you haven't seen Josh's work, you should look it up. He was talking about the fact that really their firm doesn't even think about the passive house measures anymore. They've got their system. They know what they're doing. They're using it over and over again. Now they're thinking about it and tweaking it for the next time, but they've got their system down. They're not even asking themselves the questions of how. This is just an amenity they offer. The next one was Jesse Thompson, getting back into design. Jesse also does beautiful work. And one of the reasons to do kind of Reimagine Construction, Reimagine Design, Reimagine Materials was to start to group these things so that we could see if we were going to get trends. And we were. We definitely were. And with Jesse, very similar to what was coming on with Tessa, very similar to what was coming on with Juhi and James, what we were getting is just the fact that they're finding ways of getting beauty and passive house to work hand in hand and performance hand in hand. And it just changes how you have the conversation. And it tells you how to have the conversation. Again, how do you scale it? By knowing how to have the conversation. I think Joe Schreiber needs no introduction, but I'll give it anyway. Joe has done decades of incredible work in the passive house community, has taught many people lots of the better ways of doing things, how to do them, what to look at first, what to look at second. And it was a great, I think that went on for like an hour and a half, hour and 45. He was answering really wonderful, detailed questions about how to get things right, how science has changed the way we build, and what you should be looking at first, second, and third. Tomas O'Leary is one of my heroes in the passive house world. Through Passive House Academy, which Tomas has, Our firm learned how to do Passive House. We took the course. Ed May was the teacher, and now we work with Ed along with a whole bunch of others. Tomas was talking about all sorts of things. He was talking about the massive impacts that are happening in Ireland right now, but also how they're doing it. You've got developers who are jumping in right now, who are never in this world, who are in it now because there's so many really good subsidies, and you must do it. And he's talking about how they're doing it, how they're approaching it. And what's super cool is he was talking about large developers who are doing massive numbers of homes and how they're able to really get those costs down. And you're seeing the future, as Tomas put it in that, he sees the future and it's Passive House. And it's cool. We can learn from this. We know where we're going. Lindsay Love came back on, another Reimagine Buildings, I'm sorry, Reimagine Materials. Lindsay was really bringing this home for me, where we had already talked to Jansara and Allison. We had already talked to Jacob. And we're really now talking about how she is helping firms use healthy materials that are available right now and how you can include them right now. Really cool, wonderful interview. Again, really getting into the weeds of how they do it, how they implement it, when they implement it, and how to be successful. And then the last home was Jake Bruton, and that was so fun. We had a lot of audience interaction in that one, so it was even more fun. And Jake speaks so well, and he's spoken in so many different venues. We were really focusing on intentional building, as another audience member talked about intentional design. I liked it because Jake very often is hired before the architect in the market that he's in. He's very often bringing on a team afterwards, where in my market, where the architect's on first. So we were looking at things in opposite ways, but again, very, very similar ways. How to detail buildings better, how to make them happen better. And then the next session, which is on this coming Tuesday, is going to be Ben Bogey. And if people have not seen Ben Bogey speak, he's super knowledgeable, wonderful builder, really knows his stuff, really knows his detailing, has been sharing stuff on lots of different venues and Fine Home Building and Green Building Advisor and so many more. He's the COO of Building Performance Collaborative. He's going to be this Tuesday. So again, we're just continuing these conversations in ways that create actionable, massive impact for people. So again, the collective's a lot of fun. You should try to join. I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, for me, these were Tuesday sessions for an hour, hour and a half out of my whole week. And I have to tell you, they changed the way I think about doing Passive House. And although the name changed a few years ago, and that's what was in the bio. I mean, I've been doing it for 31 years now, and I've been doing Passive House for over a decade. And I found myself rethinking the way I consider these just from those conversations. It's huge. So just stepping back for a second and reminding you that I'd really like you to put into chat things that have affected you this summer or this year or that you want to have happen. Take your pick, throw it in chat. It's easy. I was thinking about how I can impart some of the things that we do in the office and what we're seeing. We had 3 different projects get certified over the summer, which was kind of fun. That's a lot in one year, and they all kind of happened all at once, which was a lot of fun. Um, and we've got about 10 active projects that are either certifiable passive or non-certifiable passive, and we're definitely learning so much about what we would do, what we wouldn't do, but also how we talk about it. And I really do think personally that one of this community's biggest problems isn't the best air sealing detail in the universe. I think we've got that down. I think we can all debate the best wall. We can debate who makes the best windows. I think we have a communication issue. I think we communicate what we do poorly. I think that's one of the things that I can impart on you by describing how I think we could communicate. And this can be an open conversation. I'm going to have an Ask Me Anything on Friday, by the way. Zach will announce that at the end of this. But when I start to think about what I could bring to the table here, especially being I already showed some incredible projects that are much larger in scale than what we do. We do a lot of high-end residential work. You can judge high-end residential any way you want to, but I believe that people will probably always do high-end residential. There's a market segment for it. It's the market segment I'm in. It's the one I've been in, and I believe that anybody who's building should try to build as best as they can. And you're looking at a few different projects here. You're looking at Highland Passive House in the center, which is a wonderful project we just finished with Kathy Hobbs. It's a design center in Highland, New York. The prefab project, passive certified, solar on the roof. It's a NYSERDA project, super fun. Then you've got a project out in the Hamptons on the left. You've got a townhouse on the right, which is what most people know us for. That one's a real fun project. But it's our belief that whatever you're doing, you should be building it as best as you can. I don't tell people how they should live. I don't believe in it. I think people should live the way that they want to. I do think it's my job to show them what the options are. And that's what we do. That's how we have the conversation. That's how we talk about it. And I will say it's usually very effective because most people don't understand what the options were. They just don't know what was possible. So let's get into it a little bit more. So a couple of different points. And this is how I talk about passive house. So just to get into it, light being the first material. I don't talk about the fact that either Lamelux or Facro skylights, and one's got a triple pane, and one's got a quad pane, and I make sure it's north facing, or that I've got the right shading on it, or nobody cares. Blah 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 blah. It just doesn't matter. The therm diagram doesn't matter. What's cool is you get all this great light that just pours into the house, and I'm using passive house skylights on every project I work on, because why wouldn't I? Because I know how to. I know how to design integral shades that are on the inside or the outside. We know how to tilt them so they're working well when they aren't really well situated. We know how to put a planter on the outside so that we can block some of that sun when we need to. There's just different things we know how to do. But when I'm walking through with a client, I describe that light is the first material. And the reason why is we do a lot of townhouses. In the center of these houses, including the building we're looking at here, they're dark and people like light. And when we talk about sustainability, and if we're selling sustainability, they think they're getting less, and they're not, they're getting more. So this is Engine 16. This is a nice sort of buildings of excellence project. Thank you. And it's a firehouse that was converted into a residential project. It's 4 families with a community facility on the ground floor. We reused a lot of stuff in this building. Tin, wood floors, all the joists stayed in place where they could. We reused everything. A lot of lessons learned on this one. We've already presented on this one, so I won't go a lot further. But that's what the client was excited about. We're going to reuse all this cool stuff. We're going to have all this great natural light. It was wonderful. And then we get into this fact that we really love in our office how we can start to shape spaces and how one space can flow into another space. And you're looking at a few different projects here. Project on the left is the first landmark passive house in Brooklyn. Project on the right is another. It's the first passive plus house actually in the U.S. Um, and the house in the center is this cool house that we've done in Brooklyn where we created these multi-level spaces where we actually kept all of the plastic crown, we kept the wood stair, we kept the existing pine flooring joist in place. These things never left their spot. They stayed there. We restored them. The greenest building is the one that already exists. The client doesn't care about any of that stuff. But what they care about is the fact that I can have that cool stair flow. I don't see any radiators. Anybody see any radiators in these photos? Anybody see any duct work or anything else anywhere near where I am? I mean, in most cases, it's like 20 feet behind me and it's small. I don't need to heat these houses. I love talking about that. And sometimes the clients really do get excited about that. But it's what they get. It's the design setup. It's the fact that those cool Zola windows on the right with the natural wood bring that kind of like the warmth into it. And it allows us to do these cool spaces. If that were a passive house project, I would have probably done smaller windows. I would have probably have done a thicker wall. Stair might not have fit, not in that design at least. I would have had to do a soffit at the top, maybe at the bottom. I would have had to do a radiator. I would have had to do a lot of different things. Again, I'm just going to go back and forth. Light is the first material. Flow shapes how we live. This is what people want. Comfort is definitely the new luxury. I should have put health in here, but I didn't. Comfort and health. This is it, guys. Just screenshot this and don't do anything else. It is what everybody wants. Everybody wants a healthy building. Everybody wants comfort. They didn't know they could have it. They didn't know they could have houses without bugs and dust. They didn't know they could have houses that had filtered fresh air 24/7. And you have to start asking them the questions, why aren't the other people that they're walking through with telling them they can have it? Because in a single family house, by the way, the kind of houses you're seeing here, the only people who aren't doing passive house are the people who didn't know they should, because they're cheaper. You put a lot of money into high-end residential homes, a lot of money into systems, a lot of money into stuff I just don't have to do anymore. I get it. It's probably not cost neutral for stuff in the middle. It's definitely cost neutral for large buildings. It's definitely cost neutral for high-end residential. What we all have to work on now is getting that middle to be more cost neutral. Quiet rooms, filtered fresh air, temperature stability. These are all things that people, honestly, when they're starting to walk through with me, they don't know what they want. They don't know that they can have it, and they get it. They know what thread count is. They understand that, but do they really know what it is, or do they really feel like the sheets are just soft? So I'm just going to go backwards a little bit. Light, flow of space, comfort is the new luxury. Quiet rooms, craft is the soul of design. This is that same house where this is Andrew Fishman, who's from SMR, who built this house. This was his first passive project, by the way. And the fact that we use that stair for our air sealing, because that woodwork that you see going up the side of the wall is on plaster. So we actually did a really well applied liquid applied first, and then we painted it. And you can't tell. Same with the stringer, bottom and top, we used a liquid applied product. um, and we were able to use it as our air seal. I may have mentioned that at some point to the client. I'm sure they were excited about it, but I get to keep their cool stare, and we get to keep the craft that was in their house and do a high performance building, and they're really excited about that. Nature belongs inside. We do passive house quality windows and doors on every project we do. Every project. It just makes sense. We can get them bigger, big walls of glass that actually perform better. I mean, I live in a passive house. I'm in my shorts next to, I don't have winter pajamas. I don't even know what they are. We don't heat our house. I mean, maybe a little bit in the winter, at night and so forth. But you can have these incredibly well-performing projects where you're getting that inside outside. So I can get your inside outside nature. We can have a house that's full of craft. We can have quiet rooms. Comfort is the new luxury. Flow of space. Light is the new material. When I think about how I could affect everybody as we talk today, it's these conversations that I feel like we can have. And I really do then say, because a lot of time in my market, people are trying to decide whether they want to renovate or don't want to renovate. The performance is behind the walls and it's invisible. And there are no do-overs, period. You can't do it again. Once you're renovated, once you've got those beautiful materials in there, you can't have the dust-free environment. You can put as many air filters as you want in the house, still stuck in the air in. You can't have that bug-free environment. You can't then decide how I want my filtered fresh air. It's got to be done. But the beauty's behind the walls. And I know we said don't talk about passive house, but you can talk about maybe just a little bit. Let them know how it's done, and then get off the topic. This has become one of my favorite things to talk about lately, and it's really self-reflective. It's the thing that I wasn't doing well and need to, and we all do. And we have to talk to our clients about how they operate their homes. What do they think a thermostat looks like? When they move in, how do they think they're going to operate their home? How do they live in their home? Not how the certifiers think they live in their home, not how your model thinks they live in the home. Do they have parties? Do they have lots of people over? Does everybody shower at the same time? Um, Learning lots of cool things at the beginning and asking those questions. These are fast conversations, by the way. I mean, everything I just said, I'm not going to go back and forth again, I promise. But 1 through 8 here, I mean, I can get through this in like 15, 20 minutes with a client. And the fact that we're asking them questions about how they want to live and how important different things like light and how they want to operate in their houses, they're being heard. And it's definitely something that we all need to do better. Um, uh, uh, was in a conference where the conversation was you need to start at the end, and that's why I like this photo a lot. And then 9 is really a two-parter. I only put the first part in because it was fun, but I'll put the second part in my words. Just remember that every project's going to teach you something. Jake Burton put it perfectly when we were doing our Tuesday talk. It was a great talk, by the way. If you join the collective, you got to listen to that one. It's a good one. But what he was describing is a third generation builder. And so this is not just him saying it. It's the generations that came before him. If they're not building the next house better than the last house, they didn't learn anything. Well, you got to remember, though, that you still have to finish your house. That's the part I didn't put on this one. There's always a better product. There's always a better thing. We are in a seriously emerging market. It's amazing how fast it's going. So at the beginning, come up with your materials, your team, your setup. Always be curious, but just remember we're already so far above code. So let's get back into it. How do we make it work? I will say so many things came up in these Tuesday sessions over and over again, and using the blower door as a tool was definitely one of them. Using it early and often. I think it was Jake who was saying it was one of his favorite tools that he had gotten. So when it asked him, what's really affected him as a builder, and he had said the blower door. Other people said it earlier. I think Mike Steffen said it early. It comes up all the time. And I think what that does is it ensures that you make it happen. Now, I want to make the point that a lot of the houses that I work on aren't certified. They'll never be certified. I'm not gutting every house I'm on. Some of our houses are just renovated, and what we're renovating, we're doing better. And we're still doing passive elements there, and we're doing other things everywhere else. We still have to do a blower door in these houses. You still have to know how they're working. You still have to know how they're not working. You still need to know where the problems are. And it's so, so helpful. Next, integrated kickoff meetings. I will say again, this is one of those secret sauces that has come up over and over again. So I want to share it with everybody. Starting early, I'm going to combine some of these right now. Energy model and SD, not CD. Means you don't go backwards. Drawing the passive house details early so you know your wall thicknesses, you know where you can do your big windows versus your small windows, where the shading is, where it's not. It means your clients aren't falling in love with designs they can't have. Pre-construction budgets with some of the performance priced in, maybe even a little bit of contingency on the side if you're working with a new contractor who might not necessarily know what that costs. And then not on the slide, because I would go on and on, but we talked about it in a lot of the Reimagine construction sessions. Making sure that there's money in there so that the contractor has the ability to hire the passive house consultant or others during construction. I talk about it all the time. I feel like passive house consultants and doing PHPP or WOOFy, that's the thing that de-risks this for an architect, especially we're in a 101 session. If you're a new architect, we're a design firm that does passive house. I don't do any of it in-house, even though almost all of us are certified. I hire people, and Ed May and John Mitchell are the people we're working with now, and they're incredible. But those energy models at the beginning, they are de-risking our architectural work. I don't know anything else that does that, by the way. Nothing. I know how things are going to work or not work. Same during construction, especially for retrofits. Nothing ever goes the way you think it's going to go. I love my world, but my world's a fun world where nothing ever goes the way you think it's going to go. And that's why we like weekly meetings. And that's why we recommend that the contractor has some money in there to hire the consultant to come in, because that passive house consultant who's going to run the blower door or just look at the therm or just look at something else when something else isn't happening, that consultant is now de-risking it for the contractor. Well, this is a snowball effect. This just gets better and better and better and bigger and bigger and bigger. Who are they protecting in the end? The client. So, you figure this out. I know it works during design. I know it works during construction. Now I know as a homeowner that my house met that standard, whether I'm certifying or not. I know where my trouble areas are. And trust me, we do work in areas where I know we're going to get non-performance. I just make sure that everybody knows where that is. Maybe we do put a radiator there. Maybe I am putting a piece of ductwork closer to that. Maybe I do have to do spray foam, even though I don't want to. You never know, but at least you're modeling it and you can have the conversations. So this is how we make a massive impact. For me, it's conversations like this. It's the Tuesday sessions. It's sharing stuff. For me, it was a bit of more of a process conversation that I could share with you about the process we go through, how we talk about it, how we do it, which I think can be done at any scale. It's not just my process. I've copied those off of everybody else I've talked to, and I keep kind of tweaking it and learning more and more. But it's the bridge. It's the bridge between performance and beauty and vision and execution. It's how you make things happen. And it's how you can do it successfully. Because I can tell you, architects and builders, if they don't feel like they can do the first one successfully, they're not doing it. So what we have to do as a community is truly support each other and make things happen. So last slide, I promise. Almost. Resequence your team. That's the first thing to do. Think about Passive House early. Just think about it differently. Integrate the Passive House into your design concept early. Bring design leadership to the table early. Make sure everybody's feeling this right at the beginning. Shade pockets, for example. Like, how do they work with Passive House windows? We have integral interiors in our office. It's been such a big deal. You got to make sure it all works. And then I beg you all to please stop selling performance. Just erase it, erase it. Sell comfort, sell craft, sell health. People want it. They get performance, they'll pay for performance, they'll donate the performance. They all think you're going to get less. And what's cool about what we're all doing here is they're getting more. They're getting better. They're getting things that make them happier. So please sell comfort, sell craft, keep it going, and let us know in chat if you haven't done it already. Just some of the stuff that you're reimagining, some of the stuff that you're doing, things that you've seen out there that are kind of cool. I think this, for me, is a conversation. Again, I'm going to do the Ask Me Anything on Friday too. So whatever we can't get to today, we can do there. But I'm happy to be the person who has the ability to announce something that's coming up that's very, very cool. It's probably the reason why I've used the word massive so often. Who cares about massive? But we're doing a cool conference. It's so interesting. It has 16 speakers, who are doing next level work, who are going to be sharing exactly how they're doing it, what they're doing, where they're doing it, how you can do it. It's real world projects, high performance design, massive impacts. It's 4 hours. It's going to start at 12, end at 4. Um, it's really, really cool. We're talking like no fluff, no theory, tested strategies, focused momentum. Kim, Zach, Kara, and the whole team have really, really been kicking butt on this. This is going to be a good conference. You can't sign up yet. Zach will tell you a little bit more about that, but it's coming up soon and it's on the 19th. This is going to, my opinion, maybe one of our best conferences ever. It's like 4 hours of truly, truly impactful stuff. Anyway, with that, thank you very much. And let's keep talking.
Well, Michael, again, great job, great presentation. Always love you have to share. Always love just again what you've learned in, you think of the 5 years I've been doing this, the 6 years the accelerator's been on. I mean, the evolution of the language that you've used has evolved. And again, still passionate, still loving everything you do. And again, we love what the words you say. And I think a few of us will definitely steal some of those slides and continue. So again,
Please
thanks for
do.
making sure you went back and at the right time because I was able to snap a couple because can't wait till Monday until the slides come out. So I needed one of those slides for an upcoming discussion. So here we are. This is the time where we now are going to talk about future events. So Shannon, let's turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sean. Amazing, amazing. And Michael, thank you for that fantastic presentation. It's great to see you consolidate everything and really give us that window in. So give me just a moment to move a couple things on my screen here because we do have a few events and announcements to share. So for the recent episodes of the Passive House podcast, we're covering topics like building beyond compliance, leading Passive House Canada, Enriching Lives and Cutting Carbon in Ireland, and Transforming Community Housing. And there's also the Reimagine Edit episode, which is a must see, and that link is in the chat. For me, I listened to a bunch of these on some road trips this summer, and I think Ace McCarlton said it best in podcast episode 247. We don't follow hope, hope follows us. So think of that whenever you watch the news. In September, for our live events, we have an overview of the masterclass on how to make Passive House certification modeling easier with Ed May on September 10th. On the 17th, check out Colonial 2, the first net zero carbon multifamily retrofit in New York State. And on the 24th this month, we'll have our field notes, our summer lab report. I'm very excited about that one. I want to see how all the labs are doing. For community events, as Michael mentioned in his presentation, save that date and join us for Reimagine Building's massive impact on September 19th. And Regenerative Metropolis in person in New York City, New York Climate Week on the 26th. And FIASCon, I will definitely see you there in Milwaukee on October 6th through the 8th. Beyond that, we've got NYSERDA's RFPs are open. So information can be found on the NYSERDA Buildings of Excellence Round 6 for the website. I think the deadline here is September 17th. They are offering up to $1.5 million for winning demonstration projects and up to $150,000 for design firm partners. Pretty amazing. And finally, a quick overview of Ask Me Anything, our AMA at the Reimagine Buildings Collective, Reimagining Construction Series. So you know I'm devoted to construction tech, and I really love these. So we're going to continue today's conversation at the AMA this Friday with Michael on the 5th, and then with Ben Bogey on September 9th. So now over to Zach to share the great things happening on the collective and thank our excellent sponsors.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. And I think you've covered a good deal of that. Thank you for sharing those events. So the collective, of course, is where we bring together builders, designers, and change makers who are driven to create healthy, climate-ready buildings so that we can share hard-won lessons, level up our practices, and build the networks we need to thrive. And so this is a place where you can have access to peers like you who are working on advancing climate positive building practice in your own work, as well as leaders like Michael in small group sessions. So we hope that you'll join us and join Michael on Friday for his Ask Me Anything. We will be rolling out a little series of videos over the next few days about the Massive Impact Conference, culminating in the opening of ticket sales on September 10th. So please check your inbox for that series and snag a ticket when they are available on September 10th. I want to take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsors that make our work here possible at Passive House Accelerator. So, first, I'd like to thank our stakeholder partner, NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. Thank you too to our founding sponsors, 475 High Performance Building Supply, Ingui Architecture, Partel, Rockwell North America, and Zola Windows. Thanks too to our champion sponsors, Bewizo, Cascadia Windows and Doors, European Architectural Supply, Bacro, Icon Windows and Doors, Intelligent Membranes, LG Air Conditioning Technologies, and Source 2050. And thank you to our patron sponsors, Building Type, Brennan, Holstrom System, Inotech Windows and Doors, Lamelux, RDH Building Science, and Sanderson Sustainable Design. A big thank you to our sponsors for making everything possible here at Passive House Accelerator.
Excellent, Zach. Thank you, sponsors. And here we go. A little bit of discussion now as we got a few minutes left in the hour to talk about massive impact. So if you haven't done it yet, put in the chat. Michael asked you about it, and you got to do what he says. So put in the chat if there's something you're working on that is making sure that you feel like you're providing massive impact to you, your family, your community. We want to know about it. So, Michael, there's a couple questions in the queue, but I'm gonna kick off question period here because I'm curious: is there a building, or do you have a few buildings that just have really laid down a massive impact in your career? I know I've got a few Passos projects that when people talk about, which ones are my favorite, I can list off the kind of like the three for me, but are there a few projects that for you just resonate? You can imagine that first walk through the door, and do you have any buildings that just have empowered you with when it comes to the.
You know, I definitely do. And I would say one of the projects I'm really looking, and all for different reasons. The four projects I put in for a reason. I think they're all super interesting for different reasons. The project in Milwaukee, the Edison, it's just super. I mean, the scale of what they're doing in mass timber there is just really, really interesting. The Bush School, I think, looks very cool, and I think performs really well. The Bunker Hill project, the one in Boston, the fact that they're able to do this at the scale they're doing it, I find really, really exciting. But because I feel like they're really doing some cool stuff there that they just couldn't do otherwise without the level of planning that they're doing. We've had some really cool stuff in New York as well, which I love, which I follow a little more closely. Oh guys, you're gonna have to help me here. The dorms that they just finished for NYU. If I only had a brain.
Oh, the retrofit
Yeah,
dorms. Yeah.
yeah.
Let
I
me
mean,
let me get you the name.
thanks. Yeah, do that and you can put it in chat. And like again, it's like what the kind of projects I do, but on such a massive scale and successfully. I think there's some really, really, yeah, Reuben Hall. Thanks. If I only had a memory. There's some really cool stuff. By the way, I also want to say one of the things that really has impacted me over the years is the level of collaboration. And we've been talking to the folks over at BSN Beer a lot, and I think their show is starting tomorrow night too. And I think they're going to have a really cool session. So if I think it's Mark. I know Mark Rosenbaum is the next speaker. I think it's tomorrow, but that's another cool thing I should mention out loud as well. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of really good projects. Um, the projects I'm tending to get more excited about more recently, though, might be slightly less interesting and less sexy. They're the projects that might not get certified. They're the renovation projects. They're the smaller projects. We're doing a few of them right now in our office. They're definitely harder. They're harder to do in a cost-effective way. You've got to sometimes choose what you want to do or what you can do for a second, third, fourth. And I feel like if we want to make the massive impact we truly need, we need to get those projects right. So every time I see someone doing one, um, and a lot of people share them online, which is super helpful. I love those projects because I feel like every time we're learning something from one of those, there's just so many. There's so many that need to be done, and it's a tough one.
Awesome, great stuff, Mike. So now we do have a question for you from Lori. Laura, do you want to jump on and ask it? Because I know there's some follow-up comments here in the chat here, but Laura, go ahead and ask it if you can unmute. If not, I'll ask it for you in three.
Hi, I'm not sure if it's me, Laura, or a different Laura, because
No,
I
it's
can't
you.
see all the, oh, great, okay. So I'm just curious, like, when you mentioned, like, I know, like, with Passive House, like, they are so energy efficient that
Mhm.
you don't need the same mechanical systems that you need in the traditional construction. But
Mhm.
I'm wondering like how you get away from ducts when you need to have essentially air filtration for
Mhm.
rooms. I know you can use a mini split. I'm not really crazy about how those look actually
Mhm.
on the wall. In order to get rid of that, you have to go with a ducted system, which is less efficient. So just, curious kind of, how you're integrating those mechanical systems, the kind of with the more minimal systems.
It's a great question, and I feel like a whole probably should do a whole session on mechanicals. And although I would love to be a part of that and bring it up, we should have at least one or two mechanical engineers fix the things I say. But I will say what we do, we do a lot of ducted mini splits. We do a lot of the city multis from Mitsubishi. We're doing a bunch of LG work right now. We've done some Daikin. Um, um, but we're doing a bunch. Actually, I think the majority of like what we're doing right now might be LG. Um, but we do a lot of the ducted systems. We like them because they're small and the ducts are small. We're not ducting the whole length of a floor. We're usually doing one per room. We can get lots of small units. We can get the pancake units. We have definitely changed the way we handle HVAC, and this is definitely something that the community helped us with. And we definitely make sure that our units are fully accessible now. We're making sure that we can get that whole unit down, or if we're having issue with a coil or something else, we can get it down. And we're really paying attention to how the ducts are done. And are they really well sealed? Do I have to do duct sealing? Now, for filtered fresh air, we're still really using Zender on almost every project we're on. They work really well. Some of our projects are really tall. I mean, I live in a 16-foot wide house. It's 4 stories tall, but it's 16 feet wide. It is one Zender. I might have chosen to do two if I wanted to give up the space. Um, but for our larger houses, we're doing two of them to reduce that duct work, or we're doing manifolds with a larger duct and then splitting it into the smaller duct work. Getting a filtered fresh air, and I have to say, all these guilty things you learn when you start to do passive house. Um, the fact that I wasn't doing filtered fresh air over a decade ago, and could have, we just weren't doing it in the high-end single family houses. People weren't thinking about it. No one was thinking about it. Not one mechanical engineer. I mean, we're the ones that convinced them all to start to do it. So I think the filtered fresh air is just such a big deal. But I won't go on and on about it, but I will go a little further. We're also doing a lot of ductless systems. I personally like the floor mounted um, systems you can get with Mitsubishi and you can get with LG, and I can put a radiator cover over it, or I can hide it in a wall panel and do a grill low and do a grill high, and that whole panel is removable. They're only 4 or 6 inches deep. I can hide them very often. I like them because they're super accessible and I don't have any ductwork. We do them all the time and we hide them in all these different locations. So I think there's lots of fun things you can do. I know I'm positive I saw Sean put it depends in, but it really does depend. And but I think it's an important question. There are other systems, by the way, like Lunos and others, where if you're just doing room by room, you can do it. We just haven't had to do that. We have found a way to use others.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, Michael, I have that it depends sticker I couldn't find. And so I was looking for it. I was like, it depends is the answer you
Yep.
want. And so I threw
And
it in the
when we
chat.
do the Ask Me Anythings on Friday, I'll go into our systems a lot more. We spend a tremendous amount of time thinking about systems and controls and how they can work better. Not just the HVAC, but the hot water. We're messing with this stuff all the time. We are in a true emerging market. And so it's really interesting all the new things that are coming out and how they're working.
Hey, we only got a couple minutes left, so Sarah had a quick kind of comment to add. So Sarah, do you want to add that into the in today's
Oh,
discussion?
yeah, sure. Just asking if to add to that discussion about less duct work, you don't need to, place everything at the perimeter anymore. You don't have to
Oh,
overload.
yeah, sorry, you're so right. I mean, it is the thing that unlocks everything. I will say it is. Oh my God, it's got to be at least half the reason our clients choose to do passive house. I mean, we don't need to heat a houses. I'm in New York City. What are we doing here? Like, I mean, maybe heat. This was a horrible winter. At night we heated the house. In the daytime, the system's off, and we set the thermostat. I used to keep it off. I don't do that anymore. Now we just set the thermostat like a normal person. But the units are just not kicking on during the day. And because of that, you're right. I don't have to get it to the perimeter. It's a huge point, Sarah, because I think it frees the mechanical layout. It reduces that ductwork. It reduces lots of costs, lots of design issues. So that's a great point, Sarah. And it's one of those things that unlocks lots of other things.
Yeah, Michael, good chance here to just comment on a point that Monty Paulson said in his pattern language course is, when you start designing, design with the mechanical first and let the octopus go where it needs to go and get to
Yeah.
the spots it needs to get to. So
Yeah.
excellent. Well, can you believe it? 55 minutes plus another 5 minutes equals 60. And that means we're now at the top of the hour. And if you want to talk more about the subject, you got to connect with Michael on Friday and continue this conversation on massive impact. So I hope that today Michael left you with a massive impact and that you get to share more about the cool projects you're doing. And again, little bits add up to a lot. And as a collective and as we continue to collaborate, we'll continue to grow and do great stuff. So thank you very much for being here today. Shannon, do you want to say a quick goodbye? Because I know you want to say goodbye to a lot of our great friends here. Oh, you're still on mute.
I
You
love what
boomer.
Max
Thank
One
you.
of us had to do it.
Thank you,
One of us had
Sean.
to do it. I was like making sure it
I'll
wasn't me
take
on
one
the
for the
mic.
team there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, and thanks to all of our friends for joining us, and Kim, Sean, Zach for being here. Let's continue our Passive House journey together. Those bellwether moments Michael's been talking about, where we're all evolving this practice and helping those who create the standard evolve their practice. And we will see you Friday at the AMA with Michael.
Perfect. So yeah, thanks to Aaron, Michael Prescott, Laura, Alfred for sharing your massive impacts. Because again, being bold and being brave to show what we're doing is what we need to keep doing. And all of you that are here, I know a lot of you that have showcased projects and been a presenter or just been out in the Passive world showing your stuff in your community and in the global community. So thank you very much for being here. And that is a wrap for the first episode of this season. So to the Accelerator team, thanks for doing all the work behind the scenes to bring the show to you. And we'll see you next week on Passive House Accelerator Live. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.